Here we go. Welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe button. Here we have another crazy story. Jamaica, the island of Jamaica. They said the island of Jamaica gained their independence in 1962. How long ago was that? Let me go back and see. What year are we in right now? 2024. Not that long ago. But they said the murder rate back in 1962 in Jamaica was about 63 murders per year. Think about that. 63 murders per year. And the population was about the same amount it is right now. A little over 2 million people. Small island in the middle of the water. So basically, the Jamaicans have to get most of their goods imported from boats and planes and stuff like that. You know, that's the only way to think about it. Only boats and planes. They don't have the luxury of being attached to another country or anything like that. They're just right there in the middle of the water. Only boats or airplane are able to access the island. I mean, you could probably swim there, or maybe you could use like a submarine, or maybe a jet ski, I guess, if you have enough gas. I don't know, but I'm assuming just flying and shipping. So back in 1962, they had a murder rate the same year they had the independence of 63 individuals was murdered on the island. That was back in 1962. That's around the time when Bob Marley, was beginning his career and stuff like that. That's when Jamaica was like basically a nice island. Not saying it's not a nice island anymore, but it was a completely different island than how it is right now. Before 1962, the murder rate was even less than that. But we're going to start from 1962. So Jamaica back in 1962, they had a murder rate of 63 people. Back then, that was very shocking. Oh my goodness. Think about that. Someone wants to do something bad to a next individual. For what reason? We all just came out of slavery. Keep in mind, most of these individuals just came out of slavery. Well, not them, but 1963, the grandfathers most likely was in slavery. But things changed in the islands of Jamaica. Believe it or not, by the time we got to 1971, there's 145 murders. 9 years later, more than doubled up. So in 1971, 145 murders is a lot, but I guess it's not too much. You have a population of almost 3 million people. Still, any more than one murders, believe it or not, is too much. Especially in a poor country like that. Imagine having to, back then, individuals wasn't making that much money. Imagine having to utilize the little resources you had just to bury your, your loved one because an individual decided to commit a heinous crime, sin, whatever you want to say it. They probably say sin many back then because they were very religious individuals back then. So back in 1971, you had about 145 murders. So you had about 145 families who had to go out of their way to, this was back in 1971, to go out of their way to bury their loved one in a proper manner. This was 1971. Keep in mind, Jamaica is a small island. Some individuals say, you know what, that's 1971, that's a long time ago. And some individuals say, you know what, that's 1971. I was around in 1971. That wasn't that long time ago. So the island of Jamaica, they had a murder rate of 171 people back in 1971. Which you could say that's a lot. Keep in mind, they come from 61, 62 in the 60s. Less than 10 years prior. But as time went by, from 1971, for example, to 1971 until 1975, it went to 266 murders in Jamaica. In 1975, 266 murders in Jamaica. Don't forget, keep in mind, 1962 is when they received their independence. So from 1962 to 1972, that would be 10 years. 3 more years, that's 1975. So 13 years later, after Jamaica received their independence, the murder rate jumped up from 67 or in the 60s into 266. Keep in mind, it's a very small island. At this particular time, all these individuals were shocked. This is the Bob Marley days. That's why Bob Marley had to start singing those songs about, prosperity. All this, whatever he was singing about, could start getting violent in Jamaica. Keep in mind, they just came out of slavery in a sense. Gained their independence. Prior to that, they were colonized. Some individuals will say they're still colonized right now in a sense, but then they were even more colonized. So 1975 right now, the murder rate jumped up. Beautiful island. It's still a beautiful island. The wind is still blowing. The water is still nice and clear. But for some strange reason, mankind on that island decided to get more brutal. I wonder why. I heard a story a long time ago because this was around a time when television was invented and they stopped watching those Western movies. Did the Western movies play a role in how these individuals started thinking and viewing the world and started doing things, I don't know. Something to think about. So, for example, when you got to 1980 now, that's when Jamaica got to its most violent point in its history of its island. Based off recorded history, I mean, I'm not calculating, slave masters, what they did. We're talking about since they got the independence. You know what them slave masters did? They did them bad, I think. I'm just assuming. I know for certain. Why not? Conquer and destroy. Conquer and destroy. That's what they said. But we're focusing on Jamaica from getting the independence in 1962. So 1980 now, they have 889 murders. Think about that. So you went from 1962 to about 60-something murders, maybe about 63, 64, 65, whatever I said. I'm just talking. So you went from 62, 72, 80, 18 years later, from getting the independence, they went from 60-something crimes per year up to 889. Think about it. A lot of individuals say 1980 is when the whole shift occurred in Jamaica, and ever since then, it's never been the same. But unfortunately, they were so wrong. They were so wrong. They were so wrong. Because believe it or not, that 889 murders in 1980, in today's Jamaica, that would seem like you're living in a utopian society. Think about it. Well, no, not a utopian society. You know what I mean. You're living in a better place than you are right now. But believe it or not, in 2025, the murder rate in Jamaica was 1,600. Almost 1,700. Think about that. Kept on going. In 2009, it was almost 17,000 again. 1,700 again. Think about that. But how is that possible? Though? As you can see, in 1962, when the Jamaica, they get their independence. They get their independence in 1962. Ever since then, Jamaicans started migrating all over the world. And what happened after that, this is what a friend told me. I'm not sure how true it is, but I had to look it up. And it kind of made a little bit of sense to me in a sense. Not 100%, but because keep in mind, there's good Jamaicans, good law-abiding citizen Jamaicans, but also there's some Jamaicans that are not so productive. And ever since a lot of Jamaicans received their independence, ever since 1965, they started migrating to New York, for example, in America. Started making money. Keep in mind, even up to today's date, the money that the Jamaicans was being compensated for their hard work and labor was next to nothing. So once the individuals migrated to a foreign land, they started sending clothes back to their loved ones. They started sending food back to their loved ones. They even started sending toys back to their loved ones. Keep in mind that Jamaican people wasn't used to that, fresh out of slavery. Certain individuals left the island, got exposed to something different, especially in money. As time went by, some of them started indulging in doing illegal activities. Think about that. Come from a small island in the middle of the water or the ocean, however you want to say it. Went to a foreign country, started making money, started sending things back to their countries. After a while, they started sending guns back to their countries. Think about that. So after a while, individuals from Jamaica started migrating out of their countries in the 60s. So you see from the 80s now, they started getting violent. Keep in mind, there's no other way stuff are getting out of Jamaica except through air or sea. Every container could be checked if you want to check them. If you don't want to check them, you don't check them. A lot of individuals say, you know what, that's how the corruption begins, that's how it starts. A lot of individuals say that's why the crime rate is so high, because back in the days, individuals would committed murder for maybe a machete chop, or a machete wound, or stabbing from an ice pick or a knife. But as the years went by, started in the 80s, started using guns. They said Jamaica do not have any gun manufacturing company on the island. Most guns are imported naturally, but the only way to get them in is if you want to get them in. That's what they say. I don't know. Makes sense to me though. So a lot of individuals in Jamaica started traveling the world. They started committing crimes in every country they went to. Think about that. Especially throughout the 80s, 90s, 2000s, up to today's date. A lot of individuals associate Jamaicans with marijuana and crimes. For some strange reason, they said Jamaican people like to pull their triggers and commit crimes. Poor people. I guess when you have nothing to live for, you do whatever you have to do to survive to try to make a dollar. Once upon a time, Jamaica used to be a beautiful island. A lot of individuals trying to figure out why is the island so violent right now in 2024. With all the technology you have right now. More technology than ever before. They say they have the ability to scan through someone's house, see how much individuals are in there. They said they have the ability, if you go to the airport, to scan through your body and see what you ate for the day. But still at the same time, Jamaica is so violent and most of the crimes is being committed by guns. How did the guns get there? It's not an individual going to the airport They say corruption, well, not corruption, but they say, you know what, the art of war. How do you destroy a country? Destroy the people within a country. All you have to do is do what you need to do. What I mean by that, that could be done in many ways, shape, and forms. I can't get too much into details, which I don't want to get into. But you know what I mean. Guns can't be shipped to a country that's in the middle of the water. Every container is inspected, I'm assuming. Do you want to let it go through or not? They say money is a root of all evil. One thing about the island of Jamaica, everyone in Jamaica wants to be the big man. They said the boss. Top, done. However you want to perceive them. Nothing but criminals who want to be the only people in power, drive around in fancy cars, all the other stuff they want to do. Jamaica is a beautiful island, but the murder rate is one of the highest in the world. What's the reason for that? That's the purpose of this video. You would think all the tourism, I'm assuming at least 500,000 to 1 million tourists travel to the island of Jamaica every year. You would think well, let's not get too much into that. This is not a political video. This is just a video about the crime rate in Jamaica is going up so much. And the crimes is being committed by individuals with guns. As you can see from the charts from 1962 to 2022, 62, 72, 82, 92, 2002, 2022, is it 50 years? That's a long time. I could be off from my math also, because I could be, but if 50 years later, well, 6 years later, imagine how it'd be in 6 years in the future if that be the case. So you go from 62 to 1600 to the next time, F service TV, tell a friend. I'm assuming those